Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us another day to be at your house and to practice. And thank you for helping us improve in every single practice because we need improvement in every practice, and you actually show us improvement. And yeah, thank you for being with us. Thank you for the Bible study. Help us learn something today. And in your name we pray. Amen.
No, I thought it was off the, or on the whole time. Okay, so last week, what did we cover? We covered no, that's not what happened. So remember, don't remember Daisy took over yesterday last time. Yeah, yesterday too. But what was Daisy's like main topic that she was discussing last time? People? No. The Alamo? No, it's okay. I know.
I remember I remember her repeating a lot about the water being over the mountains
Okay.
and then the water from the
The
sky.
water from the skies.
So she went back to like the very beginning of like.
Yeah. It wasn't 40 days.
Oh yeah, that.
Uh huh.
So Noah
Okay.
Noah was in there for longer than.
It stayed for a while. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What else though? She covered another thing though too. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. You have it, but you don't have
Okay.
it. Okay.
It was the thing with I don't know how we came to that, but it was the thing with the people,
The thing with the
the
people.
people that like interpret stuff or something and like.
Interpret stuff. That was the last question. Yeah, that's the question she had left.
That's the thing. I'm trying to get there.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. You guys.
Carla?
Yeah. I know. I know. I am. Okay. Go ahead.
The what? Ruach. The human ruach.
The Ruach. There you go. Yeah.
With help of Vanessa, right?
There you go. All right. Chill. Okay. So yeah, that was one of the main things Daisy was talking about last time, as far as like to have us have a better understanding of what Ruach was. Hey, yo, chill. But so that's what we talked about last time. Then she actually had a quiz as far as like who was the first one that's out there, right? And so now, so that was all chapter 7, right? And now we're going to chapter 8. Has anybody read chapter 8 yet? No. Okay.
So we're gonna read
Daniel?
it today.
Okay, so we're gonna read either way, right?
He's going
Yeah,
to.
it's black screen. Let me show you my screen. Here you go. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start reading, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So, who wants to do the first one? Vanessa got
So
that one.
just for
Sorry,
the
Daniel.
people who weren't here last week, before we start, we're still talking about Noah and the ark. That God told Noah, build the ark, take with you animals, and I'm gonna flood it. I'm gonna kill pretty much everybody that's in this earth and start all over again.
Yeah, so we're gonna read pretty much mostly everything, and we're gonna start going to little sections. So we're gonna read, and then we'll go back and start to dissect pretty much those sections that we just read. So you can go ahead.
Genesis 8, 1 to 5. I don't know why I volunteered to read. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heaven had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down, and on the 17th day, on the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible.
Okay, so basically here, what did you guys get from these sections? The what? They spent over a year in the ark, and the ark came to rest. So it stopped raining. The waters are going down. That's what this section's all about. Okay, next.
And the ark came to rest
On the mountain. Okay. And the mountains were visible. Okay.
All right.
I just want to make sure we
Yeah.
we understand what
And-
this section is all about.
Okay, so let's get to the next one. So Daniel, want to do this one?
Genesis 8, 6 through 12. After 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took a dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there its beak was freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. By the by the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry.
Does that make sense so far? I mean, all he's trying to do is say that he sent out a dove, right? And the dove was pretty much going to see if it'll come back, it means that everything still has water, right? And if there's no land out there. And so that's why at the very end it says that the dove never came back, and therefore it looked like the dove found somewhere to pretty much land, right? That's pretty much all it's saying right here. And like I said, we're going to go back because Daisy has some examples later on we're going to look at. Do you want to just go to those examples, or you want to keep reading the rest of
No, keep
chapter
reading,
8?
keep
Okay.
reading.
This is a little bit easier to read. So who wants to do this one? Oh, she did? Okay. Let's go, Saida.
It's a smaller one.
It's really small. You don't want the next one.
No, I don't.
No, it's okay. All right, go ahead. No.
Genesis 8:15-19. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." So Noah came out together with his sons and his wives and his sons' wives. All the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on land, came out of the ark, one kind after another.
Makes sense, right? It's dry. Now they're able to get out, and so they're pretty much getting out.
Well,
So
we're here. God's saying. God told them. It's pretty much like telling them or commanding them come out, and so now they're coming out. So on the other one, he figured out, okay, like there's no more water. We can come out, but it's not until God says come out that they come out, and that's what this whole section is about.
all right. So last one, right? I go, girls.
Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and, taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease."
So that's the end of chapter 8 right there. So does that make sense real quick? So now we're going to start to dive into the verses from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So this is one you have right here.
Okay, so does anybody so we're going to start on Genesis 1, right? But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Go to the next one. We're going to talk about no. One at a time.
Go ahead.
You're giving my questions away.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They didn't see it, though.
Okay, so so we're gonna now I've lost my place. Okay,
You got it. Your question's
Yeah.
right there.
so we're gonna focus on this one part here that says God remembered. Okay, so the first question is, did God forget about Noah? So I mean, if you're reading this, it's like and you don't know anything about God, and you don't know who he is or how his character, you would probably question, like, well, why is it saying God remembered? Did he forget about Noah, right?
Yeah, or it's also saying kind of like that he's human and he forgets things too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not God.
But is that's God's character? Next question. Why would the Bible then say God remembered Noah, right? That's one question. Hold on. Next one.
Daniel's all excited over there.
So, how could he remember if he never forgets, right? So if he's all knowing, how did he forget?
Don't say nothing.
I'm not. Next.
She's talking about
I know.
that.
Like, are you like asking us?
Well, no,
rhetorical
it's just
questions.
these are things. It's just for you to kind of think about, like, sometimes.
And I had like a way to process it, but then in the moment when I told you to don't say anything, I just.
But these are the questions that, like, sometimes we read and we're like, but we never really stop and really think about, like, these things. So the next question. Is God sometimes absent-minded or a little distracted? Do you guys know what absent-minded means?
No?
That-
That's cool.
Go ahead.
Absent-minded? Okay, it's that. Yeah. Yeah. So it just means pretty much like this other one says, little distracted. It pretty much means that like your mind just goes blank. Like you're just not really thinking
Or
about
like
anything.
you wander off?
Yeah, you wander off. I mean, is God like that? That's what
I mean,
Stacy's asking. Okay, I didn't.
She needs a mic.
Receded? So like what? What?
No, she was saying something else.
Okay.
Receded?
So water rises and then it falls, right? But there's another word for it. It means receding. The water recedes out and it pretty much goes somewhere else. It goes into the ground. It's just saying that it just water
down.
disappearing. Yeah. But yes, I'm glad you asked that question.
So is that making you guys think about, like, why did God remember all of a sudden? Okay, so one more. So how is it that he forgot about his promise, right? Because he promised Noah that he would spare his life, right? So this verse here, it says, the 18, it says, but I will establish. So from 17, he's saying, I'm going to destroy the earth, right? And then 18, he says, but I will establish a covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wives and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and females, to keep them alive with you. So why did he promise this, and then did he forget this promise? So that's the question.
Okay.
I'm not really asking. I'm just kind of making
Rhetorical.
you guys think. So when it seems like things can't get worse, right? Because remember, he opened the floodgates, and so now there's like water for 40 days that made all of a sudden the earth like flood. Right? So it's water going everywhere, everything's dead, and so has God forgotten his promise to Noah? So this is precise moment when everything really changes. So at this verse here is when everything changes. So from before this verse, everything he was talking about how he's going to destroy the earth, all of this, and then in this chapter is when he's like, there's going to be a change. So, huh?
Okay.
We will, and that's what we're going to
Yeah.
develop into. So one more thing. Take a moment to read the verse again. Huh? Where? Christian.
I didn't mean to. I just
But
I got excited. I just hit the next button. I was like, what's next?
Well, you have it right here.
I gotta watch like yours and be like, where are you at on your side? Yeah. I'm gonna give out the answers.
Okay.
Okay, so you got
So
this
my
one.
question was,
Uh-huh,
what do
yep.
you read it again and let me know if you guys see something in there, right? And then you saw it. It's
Yeah.
the ruach, right? Because remember, the Hebrew word ruach means spirit,
Yeah.
wind,
Mhm.
or what else is the other one? Breath.
Okay.
So next question.
Okay.
What does this remind you of?
So what is it? Looking at this one, it says he sent a wind over the earth. Hovering over the waters. Where is that at?
Go ahead.
Okay. There we go.
Now the
Genesis
earth was
1.
formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering. So again, isn't this mirroring what's happening right now in Noah, where like it's formless and empty at this point, and there's only the ark? Does that make sense? And so when he sent, so if you go back and read Genesis 1, it says he sent a wind over the earth. It's the same thing as the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And so what happens when the Spirit of God hovers over the waters? Waves. So
Well, okay, so let's go. Let's go to that
pretty
one, right?
much. So like, remember that this part here, formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep. Yeah, it becomes the opposite. The Spirit. So now something's over the instead of it. So the deep, for those that don't know, is like chaotic waters, like really like forceful, really bad, stormy waters. But then when God's Spirit is over the waters, they become calm, and they're called just waters. So the same thing is happening over here, because he sent a wind over the earth, and and then what happened when that happened? What happened when the Spirit came? The waters receded.
So you see the parallel?
What happened? Yeah. Does that make sense? Did you guys see it before? You saw it before?
You said you ain't read chapter 8 yet.
Shoot, understanding.
Okay. Okay, sure. All right. Thanks. For the next one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going back, but God remembered.
Can I?
Okay, so go ahead. So to say that God remembers is to say that he's doing exactly what he promised, that he never forgets. Does that make sense?
That's what I was going to say. He never forgets. Because he never said he forgot. He remembers.
So if you remember something, that means you haven't forgotten, right? Does that make sense? Yes. Can you make it maybe into a better explanation?
If you remember a promise, did you forget?
If you forget, then but then they never remember because.
Remember a promise, you didn't forget. That's what you remembered.
Yeah, Daniel's on it,
Because if.
yeah, I know. That's why I'm just kind of like.
Say that again?
waiting.
Then you've forgotten. But once you remember, you haven't forgotten anymore.
But that's the thing we're trying to say, like. But yeah, I know. So that's where. Hold on, because there's this
Yeah.
different thing going on right now. Like, so when you're saying remembered, it's some people are saying that like, oh well, he forgot because then you remembered because it's you forgot that it was there. But that's not what we're trying to say. We're just trying to say that he's always kept that promise as far as the covenant with Noah, right? And this is all it's just saying right here is that God is keeping a promise with Noah, right? And it's pretty much saying that he's gonna like get them free off this ark all over again. So don't go to the point where it's saying like, oh well, he forgot and he remembered everything else. It's still remember is more about the promise that he actually.
And then
kept
remember
with
how
them.
long it's been that he's in this boat. He's been in the boat for how many years? A year plus. So a what? And if you're in a boat and you're with all these animals and it's just raining and just, I mean, think about whenever there's hurricanes here. Sometimes like 2 a month, however long it's been that you guys been in a hurricane. Like how long does it feel? Feels like forever, but
yeah, especially for us. Yeah.
COVID.
COVID too, yeah. COVID, yeah, it's a long, long time. But I mean, for us, like we're talking about the hurricane, right? I mean, we had it one time when we were in high school and the water came through, and we were at school for like 2 weeks, and school just started for us in August, I think, right? And so I mean, that took us forever as far as I think they're just getting back to school again. So
I remember we ate marshmallows.
yeah, what you guys did?
Anywho,
What? I said
it's a random thing.
I was gonna wait.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that a better word to replace remembered is honored.
There you go.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say earlier.
Honored.
Like whenever. That's why I kept asking, do you want us to answer? Do you want us to answer? I was gonna say, oh God is trying to like admire.
That's a good
or
one.
honor him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, go ahead next. Okay, so you wanna? I guess you wanna talk.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm just okay. Okay, so Daisy has this diagram, right? What
Yeah, it wasn't in the spot where it needed to be. I was ahead. Go ahead.
do you mean?
Like we didn't need to show it last time.
Like a long time ago.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay. Gotcha. So Daisy was saying earlier, as far as like all these verses have something as far as a relationship with them, but they all go down to the very end,
Well-
which is go ahead.
If you go even back, remember that the Bible and even God, the way that He is, He's very orderly. He has everything. He just doesn't throw things out there just to throw things. He didn't just do the flooding for no reason at all. Like, there's a reason why he did certain things. And so when we read the Bible, sometimes we just read the stories, but we can't make the connections of how he's tying it all together. And so this is a way to kind of put the image together and see how it kind of connects together. And hopefully you guys see it. Go ahead.
Okay, next one?
Yeah.
Okay. So what Daisy decided to do on this one is actually to show each verse next to each other and how do they actually coincide with one another.
So it all starts. So remember when I was saying that, like, the change happens when God remembers in Genesis 1. So then they start to verses start to parallel each other. And so what he's going to do moving forward, he had done an opposite thing in the prior chapters. So we'll see this if you.
Yeah, I can just read it real quick. Yeah. Okay, so on the left side, right, it says.
And then so whenever you're reading this, see if you see any parallels.
Mm-hmm. So chapter 7, 17 and 24, it says, "For 40 days the flood kept coming onto the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 50 cubits. Every living thing that moved on the land perished, birds, livestock, wild animals, and the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all of mankind. Everything on dry land that had breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of this earth has wiped out people and animals, and the creatures that moved along the ground, and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark.
So what? Go ahead.
The waters flooded the earth for 150 days."
So what is this whole section about? The flood. Okay. So now verse 2, I can read it. "Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heaven had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth, and the end of the 115 days the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month the earth came to rest on the mountains of Arada. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month the top of the mountains became visible." So what do you guys see that are differences but similarities? Do you see? So you guys see that what Anita just did? Well, yeah, I know you saw. But do you see how Anita did that? So on one side of the verse, they're saying that the waters are rising, and then on this other one, he's saying that the waters are receding. Is there anything else? Daniel, you said what you said was pretty much another point that I had. No. Yep. And the mountains became visible. So on one side, yes. They're small, I know. So on one side, he's saying that all of a sudden, the water came so high that the mountains were covered, and on the other side, he's saying the waters are going down. Okay, so next one.
There's a lot there.
So there's a couple.
Okay.
We're not going to. Go ahead.
You want to go ahead? Okay.
You can read one, then I'll read the other one.
So on the left side is pretty much chapter 7, and the right side is chapter 8, so we're going to do chapter 7 real quick. So
this was before God remembered.
Mm-hmm.
The before 8:1.
Mm-hmm. So here we go. So Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came to the earth, and Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, birds of all creatures move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah, and they entered in the ark, as God had commanded Noah. And after 7 days the floodwaters came to the earth, and in the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day in the 2nd month, on the day of the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. And rain fell on them for 40 days and 40 nights. And on that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Japhet.
That's Spanish. Japhet is Spanish.
PH is P. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
together and his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, and all livestock according to their kinds. Every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that had the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark. And the animals were going in, male and female, of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah, and the Lord shut them in.
Okay, so take that in, and I'm going to read the other one real quick. So this is after his promise. Remember that this has to parallel what he just read. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the waters had receded from the surface of the ground, but the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was waters over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back in himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in the beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again. But this time it did not return to him. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the waters had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the coverings from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Anybody see anything? A little bit more. Nothing? Nothing? If you guys don't, I can help.
You're getting closer. It's a number thing.
It's a number. 7. 7 is a number, but hold on. So on the before, he said, where is it at? And after the 7th day, the floodwaters came on the earth. Wait, where is it? So first thing, Noah entered the ark. That's the first thing. And then on this other side, he's still in there, right? So 7 days and the floodwater came. That's on the before. So God said, hey, I'm going to put 7 days, get inside, and then I'm going to start the water in 7 days. It's going to start to rain in 7 days. And then on the chapter 8, after the dove came, he waited 7 days before sending it out again. And then you also noticed another number, 40. Yeah. It rained. It rained 40 days, and then once it stopped raining, he waited 40 days to even open the window. So those are some parallels right there. Next. We don't have to.
That was bad.
Okay, go ahead.
Really tiny? Yep.
I know, like the first one, I was able to like find the matching sentences, and then like this last one just threw my vision off.
Yep, that's good. Yeah, so on chapter 7, so I'm going to have to read it. She already read it. On chapter 7, God's telling him, go into the ark. And he mentions the animals and his family. And he also says he will keep the various animals alive. And then it closes with Noah obeying God, right? So he did what the Lord commanded. On chapter 8, he says, then God said to Noah, come out of the ark. So once he says come out, Noah obeys. And then on top of that, he also mentions how he's going to not only keep the animals alive, but how he's also saying, hey, they're going to multiply and be fruitful and increase in numbers. So there's that parallel there with the animals. Next one.
There's a lot in this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to read it. So pretty much, if you start reading, it says, it starts describing how people are becoming very violent. You guys remember, right? He's becoming violent. And this is all like, and he's going to say he's going to destroy it. And then in chapter 8, he says,
yeah,
yep,
that he won't ever do that again. And he said pretty much that people are evil us even when they come back from childhood. Right. Kind of going back to Cain and Abel. You know, they were young.
So in chapter 6, it's God's resolution to destroy the earth by flood. Mm-hmm. And then in chapter 8, it's God's resolution never again to destroy the earth by flood.
Yep.
Okay, next one.
What I wanted to do, because this is gonna be the last time probably we're talking about Noah's Ark either way, as far as going forward. Just after, because once you get to pretty much chapter 9, we're gonna be talking about a whole other thing. So, I'm always like I like history a lot either way. So what I decided to do is actually put some information on here that pretty much goes back to how do we know the actual ark is even real, and was there ever sightings of the actual ark? Because people always say, well, prove it, prove that it actually is an ark, right? And so let's go to the first one, right? So in 275 BC, right, you have Berosus, what's called a Babylonian historian, pretty much wrote that, but of the ship, what's called that was grounded in Armenia. So pretty much where they're at as far as the mountains, whenever pretty much the ark pretty much landed was close to in Armenia, right? And so some of the parts still remain on the mounts, and some of the what's called had to get pitch from the ship by scraping out. So pitch was actually a material that they actually used inside the actual ark, which was how to make it float and how not to have water just go into that boat itself. As far as when it came to the cracks. Yep.
What was the name of the mountain that the weird name?
Arata?
Arat.
I'm trying to see if it was the same one. I was like, why does it sound easier on this one?
No, this is just like the actual like place, that not the mountains itself. Okay, so second one. So around 75 AD, Jophis, there we go, said the locals collected relics from the ark and show them off to this very day. He also said, and the ancient historians he knew of wrote about the ark as well. So pretty much saying, hey, people would take certain things off from the actual ark, show them off, and just kind of like, tell everybody what's going on. And at the same time, that same person would say that everybody was talking about the ark, and people were actually writing about it a lot as far as when it came into the books back then. So third thing, in 180 AD, Teleophius of Antioch wrote, the remains of the ark are to this day to be seen in the mountains. So pretty much saying the ark landed in the mountains. Another person saying, hey, that ark, it's in the mountains still. You can go find it, right? So the fourth one, an elderly Armenian man in America said that as a boy he visited the ark with his father, and three atheistic scientists in 1856. Their goal was to disprove the ark's existence, but they found it and became so enraged that they tried to destroy it, but could not because it was just too big and had been petrified. Do you guys know what petrified means? No. So wood, after a while, when it's out in the sun so long, it becomes so dense, it becomes almost like rock, not dark. So pretty much you can't destroy wood. It's not like you would just throw it in the fire or even try to get an axe and hit it. You would almost break the axe instead because it gets so hard. And so in 1918, one of the atheistic scientists, an Englishman, admitted on his deathbed the whole story was actually true, that they did try to destroy it, they did find it, and all that stuff. So here's some more. So sorry, bear with me. So in 1876, a distinguished British statesman and author, Viscount James Bice, climbed Ararat, everybody, and reported finding a 4-foot-long piece of a hand-tooled timber at an altitude of more than 13,000 feet. So it's pretty much saying they found a tool that was used to pretty much build the ark and anything else that was inside of it. So probably, Noah, when he actually built the ark, he also said, I'm going to take all this stuff with me just in case. And from there, pretty much, like, how would you, like, there would be, like, nobody living up that high in the mountains. Like, there's just no, like, it's just way too high up there. So kind of like if you're hiking, you're just, trying to hang out, and you're hiking up there, and you're like, why is this here? It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. And so there's another person trying to talk about how they found some tools up there. So, 6 Turkish soldiers claimed to see the ark in 1916. So just, huh? Yeah, Turkish. What do you mean how?
Visiting?
Would it be what? They switched over. I'll show you guys what's called the articles if you want to later.
Like, it sounds too recent to me, and like to be able to.
Hold on, there's more. Chill out. In Okay, here we go. In the early part of this century, a Russian aviator named Vladimir, last name Russian, right? Claimed that he discovered Noah's Ark. He was stationed in the southern Russia. He was stationed in southern Russia near the Turkish border in Mount Ararat, right? So as he tested a plane, he and his co-pilot flew over the mountain that they're pretty much going over, right? And discovered that on the edge of the glacier what he described as a boat the size of a battleship. He said that it was partially submerged into the lake, so some of it was in a lake and other of it was actually out on the mountain. And he could see that there was an opening for a door that was 20 foot squared. So that's a pretty massive door. It's like 10 by 10, right? It's pretty massive, right? So, but the door was missing, right? So this guy pretty much told his commanding officer and his what's called told the commanding officers on the expedition that was dispatched to find the ark and go and photograph it. So they went to go back to find. Oh, sorry. So they pretty much were gonna go tell the report to tell their pretty much a commanding officer. And when they turned that report in, Russia was pretty much overthrown at that same time frame, and so all the details are related to the photos and the report pretty much were all missing afterwards. I mean, even back then, they're trying to get rid of all the history. I mean, like same thing happened with Germany as well. I mean, they try to like destroy books, they try to destroy history a lot of times, and that's what we end up finding out now. So, last two, sorry. In 1936, a young British archaeologist named Hardwick Knight hiked across Ararat and discovered interlocking hand-tooled timbers at the height of 14,000 square feet, or at 14,000 feet. So what does that mean? What is hand-tooled timbers? So pretty much meaning two pieces of wood, just interlocking, pretty much nailed together, pretty much, as far as they're stuck together. So how could that be up that high? It wouldn't make any sense. What's that? It was a door? Yeah, it was over there by itself. Okay, last one. So during World War II, two pilots saw and photographed something they believed that was the Ark on Mount Ararat. So, because I watched a debate a long time ago, and it kind of made me like really interested. And a lot of times people come back, people that really don't believe into the Bible too much, one of the biggest arguments that they always want to say is like, oh, if these are so true, like where's the cross, where's the Ark, where's all these things at? And if you just kind of take the time to go try to like research a little bit up, you actually could find some of these things out there. And so sometimes we just need to find ways to say like, yeah, it is true. Here's this, here's that, and there's actually things about it where people will talk about it. So like, if people want to come back and say, well, it's not really true. That's just somebody saying it. Okay, well, go back to your own notes of like, where'd you find like what's it called, algebra or all this arithmetic and everything else. It all comes from books, and people are actually writing things down. Eventually, you go back and try to read it and say, is that true or not true? And so you can't really just say some of this stuff as far as in a book is true and some of this is not. So I mean, it's kind of like saying, do you believe somebody's diary? Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe all these things? And to me, this just kind of shows like it's just another way of just saying how much the Bible is true. That's kind of what I wanted to bring to that one. I can bring them next time. Yeah, they don't really have like it's hard to see the pictures of those ones because some of those you can look at it and you're like, what? That doesn't even look real. And I mean, back in like 1936 and all those other things, you're not gonna be able to
There's
get.
no
yeah,
iPhones.
Like, it's not the same.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much all.
No, the last thing.
Oh, you had something?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I was like, why did you cut me off?
Oh, I don't know. I thought that was it. Go ahead.
So there's a Psalms out there where it says like about, because going back to what I was talking about, that God remembers.
I thought you were done because it stopped over there at 9. That's why.
But you
Chapter
could.
9.
Okay. Anywho.
Yep.
So there's a Psalms out there about 77 where it talks about like how the person, the poet, you can call it the poet, the psalmist. Yeah. He how he like in his like I guess most lowest moment he felt like, you know, God wasn't there, and then he starts questioning like where is God, and then all of a sudden he also remembers. He's like, no, like based on like old stories, and not old stories, but based on old stories mentioned in the Bible or things that, you know, he's heard, like he starts remembering like, no, God's always here. So if you want, you can read chapter Psalm 77, and then to end the discussion for today, I'll read this one note, and hopefully it helps you guys in your like lowest moments or when you feel like nobody's around, because I feel like everybody has those moments when we do feel like we're just no one's there or no one understands us and we just don't know what to do. So I'm going to read this. As we observe the story of the Bible, we learn that God's remembrance of his promise often becomes the turning point from death to new life. So as soon as you see that in a storyline in the Bible where it's like, oh, like in Noah, like they're dead, no one's going to live, all of a sudden like God remembers, and then all of a sudden life comes, and you know he starts fulfilling his promises. Because God remembers his promises to rescue humanity, he saved Noah from a murderous culture. But like all good things, this new creation of life changes us and forms us in unexpected ways. We suffer loss as we partner with God's redemptive work. Like the psalmist, we have our own unique questions, fears, and doubts when we see and experience the heartaches of this world. With the prophets, we ask how long. When they're trying to, they're in this exile. All these prophets they're always asking them, how long is it going to take for God to remember us? And wrestle to find comfort in the mindset of our present circumstances by the recalling stories of how God came through in the past. So just remember how long it took him to come through with his promise in the past, in the stories that we read. There is hope. God is a loving creator and healer who does not forget or abandon us. Instead, he remembers. While this is all apparently takes a long time, God continues moving us from the decreation, so when he decreated the earth with the flood, to recreation, when he was able to see and remember Noah and then be able to, start, as we saw, the waters recede, the animals now can come out and they can start multiplying. And he invites us to participate with him, to become like him as co-rememberers who do not corrupt or harm, but instead bless and heal. Beings who join God's recreating work of blessing and restoring life. So for all of us who are, again, like at our lowest point, know that we don't know how long we might be in that low point. Let's say you become an adult and then all of a sudden, like, you had money and now you have no money at all. It happens. But you have to always know that God's with you all the time. Any examples? School. Sometimes you might feel like you have no friends, but
or even like work.
or because you're alone sometimes.
Yeah, like even with work, a lot of times I have to leave, right, and I have to go out of state, and I'm always like usually by myself, and I'm like, oh, I wish I was actually back at home. Because sometimes you actually find yourself to be like in a tough, point. So everybody has gonna have their own thing, right? So. But yeah, I like how you're saying that. That shit's pretty nice.
So that's where we're gonna end, and that's pretty much what we brought with chapter 8 is just that he remembers, even though it shows his character, it just shows who he is. He's somebody who's not going to forget. He always remembers. It's just we have